Okay, awesome. All right, well, welcome, Samurai team. We are now entering week 5. So after this week, we are halfway through with the Samurai game. And the second half is going to fly by. So hopefully you guys are feeling maybe some bubbling, starting to feel a little bit of momentum, at least maybe doing more than you would have done had you not been in the game. And as a reminder, this is the last week of the promotion, the Nashville promotion, to hopefully get your free 4-night stay. All of you should have at least registered for some kind of a sip and sample so that your tickets are free. And if you already have tickets, do it anyway, because wouldn't it be nice to just gift those tickets to some new team members that maybe you haven't even enrolled yet. So just keep that in mind. It's really important to plug into these promotions as much as you possibly can. So tonight's topic, we're actually going to be talking about two, very basic things, but hit up some reminders for you. We're going to talk about follow-up and handling objections. And, for some of you seasoned Isagenix family members, this is, it's like ad nauseum already. But it's like, we always talk about mastering the mundane and just getting better. For those of you that are new, it'll be, you already heard this stuff, but it'll be a good reminder and to understand the importance of these basic, everything that we train on, whether it's this Monday night or Tuesday night, a lot of it is so basic. And every single thing, you can always go to isagenixbusiness.com to dive in deeper. You could listen to podcasts, isagenixpodcast.com, or, there's so many resources for us to learn. The best place to learn is in your day, like just doing it. You do the do, you fall down, you get up, you just keep moving forward and learning from, maybe your mistakes, just trying to always become a better version of yourself. And in terms of business, building your business, we are all a work in progress. I'm getting some background noise, so if you guys could mute out for now, that would be great. Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, so just a little bit of a recap before we get into tonight's topic. So, we talked a lot about connecting, creating curiosity, whether it's through, we didn't get into so much about posting in social media. We will do that at some point. But, you're creating curiosity, whether it's in your conversations, you want to find an opportunity to share your story, to share a solution, so that you can, offer a solution. So, hopefully you had conversations and you continue to have conversations constantly, as many as you can, so that people will agree to hear about or to look at or to attend something that would provide more information for them so that they can understand what it is that they may be purchasing, whether they're product driven, they have some health goals, or they're really looking initially at the opportunity. So whatever it is, hopefully we got them to a point where they say, yeah, like tell me more, show me more. So, we call that an exposure. If you share a video, if you get them on a 3-way call, if you get them to a sip and sample, if you get them to listen to a podcast that you think they might resonate with, there's so many tools. And their exposure. So you're exposing the prospect to information about Isagenix so that hopefully they're going to say yes. And some people are ready. They're ripe. They're ready to say yes, first exposure. You get them on a 3-way call and we can walk them right through the process of, yep, sign me up. And that doesn't happen all the time. We know that. For those of you who have been in the game for a while, you know that many people, it takes multiple exposures before they actually say yes. And sometimes it takes multiple exposures until they say no. But the point is that, not everyone's going to make a decision at the same time somebody else was. So it's always a very individual experience with whoever you're working with. There's no like, Deb, I'm just going to mute you because I'm getting, thank you. There's no like, cookie cutter way with any of this. Systems are important, but everything might be a little bit different because you're dealing with people, and people, one person to the next, are all different. So you want to, connect, and then you want to find what they're going to get sparked up from. For some people, yeah, it's going to be one video or another. If you're having an event and they haven't seen videos, that's cool. Tell them to come over. Maybe they want to just, be social. Maybe they want to, see your house. Some people like do things for weird reasons. They'll come to your sip and sample because they want to, whatever. But whatever it is, the whole purpose is we want to expose them to Isagenix. And from one exposure to the next exposure, we always want to continue that journey with them until they say yes or no. So maybe the initial thing is a video, and maybe a second video or a third video, depending on what their interests are. And then they're willing to get on a three-way call. Cool. But maybe in the three-way call, they still want more information. Oh my God, Felissa, I love that dog. Oh my God, both of them. Sorry. I have my heart to doodle dogs.
Yeah, sorry. Really nice inside, so I thought it would be really pretty, and
it just, it was like, what does Sherry always say? Shiny object, squirrel.
Yeah, it just, yeah.
Labradoodles. Yep. Cool. So sorry about that, guys. So, again, it's just the next exposure, and whatever it is that's going to bring them to the ultimate. So, Big John talks all about tools and team. Tools and team. This business is about tools and team. We're using the tools, we're connecting with the team. And if we really keep it to that simplicity, it really is what it is. Because we use the tools. A video is a tool. A three-way call is a tool. A sip and sample is a tool. A podcast is a tool. A PDF with information is a tool. Our Welcome Change Facebook group is a tool. They're all tools, right? And the team is anyone that you want to connect with that you feel could be helpful for you to close the deal, if you want to say that. I don't feel like we're closing deals. I feel like we're, helping people to make a decision to transform their life. So if that equals closing the deal, then that's fine, whatever the words are. So if you're new, follow-ups, when people are ready for more information, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you get them on a three-way call with someone on the team, whether it's your upline leaders, whoever you feel could help you and really provide that third-party higher authority so that it's not you. It kind of takes it away from you. You're new. You might be nervous. You might be in your head. You may not know really what to say. And even if you do, remember, this is all about duplication. And if you can get someone on a three-way call, they can get someone on a three-way call. So a three-way call is really, really powerful. And we'll talk a little bit about three-way calls in a moment and how to do it. But if you're new, without a doubt, you need to do it with a third party. If you're not new, it's still not a bad idea. But I know, and I'm, raising my hand, guilty, and I'm sure, Sherry's the same. I'm sure a lot of the team members that have been in the game for a while, I don't mean the Samurai game, but in our, Isagenix game, we do it ourselves. And that's probably a big mistake because it's always good to do it with a third party. Now, for those of you that are, seasoned and you're doing it yourself, well, then at least get a three-way call going with another team member, upline, sideline, whatever, so that you're introducing that new person to the team. They may not get on a team call right away, but introduce them to some of your team leaders, or just some of the people that you think they would resonate with. Even if it's not, you're not financially connected, but let's say you enrolled somebody and they're from Germany. Well, introduce them to Claudian Ure, or let's say you, you enrolled a millennial and maybe you're not a millennial. Well, get Christian or Maddie or one of the other millennials on a call. We all work together, and that is really what makes such a big difference in getting people plugged into the team. So again, it's tools and it's team. So no matter what, and we hear it all the time, the fortunes and the follow-up, the fortunes and the follow-up. And there's a lot of truth to that. And that's why one of the things that we talk about even in the Samurai game is going back. You're logging, maybe for the first time that you've ever been in this business, you're logging your ISA connections. And then okay, who do I need to follow up with? Sherry's tracking sheets are brilliant, but you can use anything that at least keeps you organized enough so that you don't forget. Because I don't know about you guys, but I forget. I forget from one day to the next who I may have talked to. Or last week, like, oh my gosh, I forgot. I met we talked to the waitress or whatever. If I don't write that stuff down and have some kind of even a half-assed follow-up system for me to trigger my own memory to know to send them, a follow-up message, and depending on where they are along the course, but you need to do that. So the fortune is definitely in the follow-up. You need to be following up. So the question is, how many times do you follow up? What happens when you reach out to somebody after you had this wonderful conversation and they go missing in action, right? Like all of a sudden you don't hear from them, they saw your message or, and they don't respond. Maybe you left them a voice message on their cell phone, or maybe you sent them a text, or maybe you sent them a private message. I like private message. I like connecting that way because you can tell if they read your message, right? And so we go like, oh my God, like why aren't people responding? And the worst thing that you guys can do is make that mean anything. Just because they aren't responding, just because they read your message and they're not getting back to you, that does not mean they're not interested. People are busy, crazy busy, more so now than ever. Way more now than when we got started 15 years ago. People are just inundated, and everyone has ADD because we're getting pinged and dinged all day with our private messages, with our emails, with our texts, with our, the phone calls, and, it's overwhelming. So people forget, or they just get distracted. So that's why follow-up is so important. You're not bothering people unless, of course, you're up their butt like all day, every day. There is a finesse to follow-up. And that's really the key, is having the finesse, not being annoying and pushy and, obnoxious. Because, if I were the one being followed up and somebody were just like that, then I probably would just maybe ignore. I mean, at this point, I would never do that to somebody because I know how it feels. I'd probably just say, hey, I decided I'm really not interested. But you get my point. There's a finesse. And so you want to do it in a way where you're reaching out, you stay connected, and so let's just talk about this for a second, because so the answer to how many times do you follow up, until they say no. If they don't say no to you, it's not a no. And I would even go further than that. If they say no, ask them if it's okay if you check in with them from time to time. Because it might not be no right now, but maybe it will be, yes later. So as long as you stay connected somehow and still follow up from time to time, you never know when their time's going to be. And we can all, the people that on the team that have been around for a while, will tell you stories about, the last person you would ever think, all of a sudden now they're ready all this time later. So you follow up until, as many times as it takes until they say no, and then you continue to follow up. Okay, so it's really like a never-ending thing, okay? So how do you follow up? Sherry, did you want to say something? You're muted. I unmuted you, but no, I didn't. Go ahead. There you go.
Yeah, so many people get caught up in the presentation, creating interest. If you have a conversation with somebody, the whole goal is to find out about what they need. And it's all about them. It's not about a presentation or you saying the wrong thing or not knowing enough about Isagenix. It's really just figuring out what their problems are. And then you know how to follow up. Because you know if it's a weight loss issue, you know if if they have kids, so you'll know which video to send or which article to send or where to send them. So you don't have to do a dump on them of everything that relates to them in one fell swoop. You know, I usually send out one video from ISA Sales Tools, and I know when they see it because I get a text back from ISA Sales Tools that so-and-so has watched it. Then I'll say, when I send the first video, I'll say, let me know if you can open this, because they'll all click on it then to see if it opens, okay? Then when you know that they've watched it, then you follow up and say, hey, have you had a chance to look at the video? And you know, it'll take you down that road, and it's really just passing the ball, moving the ball down the field, and it's one context to the next. And as far as following up is, your only goal when you're having a conversation is either closing, and I don't want to sound like a real hardcore sales, but taking the order or setting the next appointment. If you're going to send them something, when will you be able to take a look at this? And tomorrow, great. Then is Thursday a good time? Really set the appointment, because that will keep things moving. And just like Ina said, if they ghost you or whatever, you know, I always send them a text saying, you know, if you're not interested at this time, great, just let me know. I don't want to bug you or waste time. And people will always say, they'll respond and they'll say, yeah, it's not the right time, or no, I've been really busy, or whatever. But when you say something like that, you're giving them a permission to say no. And it does a lot to move the conversation, maybe not at that time, but down the road. And if, like, you know, they're too busy or whatever, you say, no problem. Would you like me to check back in a month or 2 months? They always say yes. You've set the next appointment. It goes in your calendar. So that's the key. Following up is setting the next appointment. Back to you, Ina.
Thanks, Sherry. Absolutely. And yeah, and just as Sherry's saying, it's like, it's being very professional about it. You know, you make the appointment, you have the appointment, so it's there. Now, when somebody watches a video, or they went to your sip and sample and left and didn't enroll, for example, or they were on a call, or they had an exposure, you know, like when you follow up with them, you want to ask them, you know, so what did you like most about the video? You want to just start a conversation and get them talking. And again, you're always asking questions because it's all about them. Remember, from way back when we talk about this, you want to be interested, not interesting. So you want to ask them about, you know, their thoughts and their feelings and what, you know, what lit them up. And so that way you can kind of guide. Now, once they see something and, you know, you're starting the conversation, and then you can say to them, you know, do you have, and hopefully, again, you're with a third party, you're on a three-way call, so that other person is doing this for you. But if it's you down the road, or you're doing it for someone else, because you know, there's people on all different levels on the team, then it's going to be like, you know, are there any specific questions that I can answer for you? Any concerns that you have? Because you want to make sure that people are comfortable and they got all their questions answered before you start talking about this pack, that pack, you know, because at the end of handling, and we're going to talk about objections in a moment, then you want to say, are you ready to get started? You have to ask them the question, are you ready to get started? And if they are, cool, that's when it's okay, you know, taking the information. And, you know, next week we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about onboarding new people and what, you know, certain things that you really want to do. But for now, I just want you to really get that, you know, how important the follow-up is and how important it is to stay, you know, and to, like Sherry shared, you know, go from one to the next, from one appointment to the next, until hopefully they say yes and you get the enrollment. Now, people are going to have all kinds of objections. And again, this is information that, we train on time to time. You hear it all the time. They're going to have objections about the money. They're going to have objections about, ingredients. And, again, some of us can write books about the objections that people have. But most of the time, it's going to be the money. And whatever somebody's objections is, and if you're new and you have not heard this, I want you to really get this, because feel, felt, found is the answer to every single objection. I know how you feel. I felt the same way. And what I found was, so I want you to write that down. Feel, felt, found. Plug it into your brain. When you're having a conversation with people, and really, it doesn't even have to be with the objection of enrolling someone in Isagenix. It could be conversations at a party with anyone about anything. Like, in order to win friends and influence people, you have to agree with them. And I know some people are very argumentative, and, they have to prove their point, they have to be right, whatever. And that's whatever floats your boat. When it comes to this, we're not going to do that. It's not about our agenda. It's about making that person feel comfortable. You want to be in agreement. So when they feel that you got them, you understand, you know how they feel because you felt the same way. Maybe they're really skeptical. Maybe they've been burned. Maybe they are very sensitive to ingredients. I know how you feel. I felt the same way. I always reacted to vitamins. I would take vitamins. I would feel nauseous. This was the first time I took something where it just jived with my system and made a complete difference in my health. I know how you feel. I felt the same way. When it comes to the money, oh my God, I know exactly how you feel. The thought of putting that money out initially, I was like, no way. I spent so much money on other products and other supplements. I absolutely felt that way. But what I found is now, aside from this was the best thing I ever put in my body and it's worth millions of dollars, but I found that I'm saving money on my grocery bill. And, you get my point, right? Feel, felt, found with any objection ever, ever, ever. And if you get really good at feel, felt, found, you're going to be so good at closing deals. And again, I don't really like saying that, but you know what I mean. Again, about enrolling people, because if you're following along, guys, we talk about connecting, we talk about being interested, really caring about people, being authentic, coming from your heart. And then when it comes to, okay, like, what kind of questions do you have? Are you ready to get started? No, well, I really don't have the money. Feel, felt, found. Well, I'm traveling so much. Feel, felt, found. Like, whatever the objection, I don't care what it is, you use that and it works like a charm. It doesn't mean 100% of the people are going to say yes, guys. It just doesn't. But yeah, go ahead, Cher.
Yeah, that works wonders. But if you're in a long conversation, you want to have, I have two other perfect techniques for any objection. And when somebody has an objection, like, I really can't do it, I travel a lot, blah, 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 I always go, perfect. This is amazing when you travel, because it, blah, 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 So if there's one that, people think, I love food, perfect. You're still going to be able to have great, healthy foods and cook, whatever they've told you about the cuisine they like to cook. But you're just going to, the other two meals that, you really told me you don't have time to eat or prepare, they're going to be taken care of for you. So don't worry, you're going to get plenty of great food. You're going to love this. So perfect is another way. And one other way that is always good is question them. They say, well, I don't do shakes. I always say, why? Tell me more about that. And it may be like, well, I tried the shake one time and it was really chalky and I hated the taste of it. Then you can say, well, if you love the taste of it, would that make a difference? And then say, yeah. And then you can say, great, because there's a money back guarantee. So if you don't like the shakes or the results, you don't have to worry about it. You're not going to lose anything. So feel, felt, found is great. Perfect. Make everything a positive. I'm too busy. I don't have any money. Perfect. You're going to save so much money on this. Or drill down and say, oh, really? Tell me more about that. And that can handle a whole bunch of other objections.
Love it. Perfect, perfect, perfect. No, that's great, Sherry. Thank you. Okay, and just really quick, because I'd like to try to, end and then see if there's any questions before we wrap up. If someone says no, not now, or or even if they're in the process of thinking, put them in our Welcome Change group. Kudos to all the team members that are really supporting that group and putting their before and afters and all the educational stuff. Like, that group is great. And let them marinate in that group. Hopefully they'll look, they'll see, they'll get inspired. So I would definitely do that. And I also want to just briefly talk about when you're doing a three-way call, if you're new to three-way calls, just make sure that if you're the person that is introducing your prospect to the third party, that higher authority, you want to edify, introduce that person like they're, amazing, like they walk on water, like, so that the person is really going to pay attention. And then you want to shut your mouth. Like, it's really important that you shut up on a three-way call and let that other person do the talking, because all of a sudden it's like, you're ganging up and, it just gets really long. And so I would really, do your best to just edify, introduce, edify. You also want to edify that prospect to the person, like, this is my great friend. I love her to pieces. We've been friends forever. We have this mutual trust, and I know she's going to, be so whatever, right? You want to edify, one party to the next, but the real key is three-way call. You edify, you introduce, and then you just shut up and let that upline leader, whoever it is, do it for you, and just listen and learn, because it's for the purpose not only of duplication, but you also want to learn because you're going to be that third party at some point if you're serious about building your team. Okay, so a lot of basic information. Sherry, thank you for your input. What kind of questions? Let me just look in the chat real quick. Do a three-way call with Felicity. You'll learn a lot. Absolutely you will. Okay, cool. All right. Any questions, guys? Anything that you want to ask about? We'll just take a couple minutes.
I know. I have a quick question. This is Kathy.
Yeah, Kath.
I'm running into, like, today I had 3 one-on-ones, and all 3 of them had been introduced to Isagenix previously, but chose to not sign up. Is there, my first reaction or my first thought was, okay, they didn't sign up, so was it Isagenix or was it the person? But I wasn't really sure how to probe from there, so I just really tried to develop a relationship and get to know them. Any advice if if they've been introduced but they decided not to sign up at that time?
I would just find out why. Can I ask why you didn't, decide to move forward at that point? And then see if this is a better time for them. It could be a million different reasons why they didn't say yes. And so I would just ask, again, it's like just asking questions and finding out. You'll also run into people that did Isagenix years ago. Oh, I did that. And, that happens quite often now because a lot of people have tried Isagenix. And I'll always say, because you never want to assume they had a bad experience or they had a great experience. You don't want to assume anything. You want to find out, like, how was it? And they might say, well, I didn't really do well, or I lost a bunch of weight and then I gained it all back. So, the one thing, if they didn't have a good result at all, I always will say something like, were you coached properly? Because there's better ways to do the program. Our team gets fabulous results. We plug into, a system of doing the products in a way that produces incredible results. If they lost weight and then gained it, in that case, I'll say, listen, I don't care if it's Isagenix or any other program. If you go back to doing exactly what you did before you started, the weight's there's no magic bullet. It's not like, oh, now we don't have to stop caring and we can eat whatever we want. Like, it doesn't work that way, So I almost get a little irritated when people say that, because it's just so stupid. It's about like, okay, well then what about maintenance? What about the 80-20 rule, like eating healthy and making good choices 80% of the time when you're at your goal, and still incorporating and having people understand that the products are not just for weight loss by any means. It's about continuing to keep your body healthy and balanced from a nutritional perspective. So does that help, Cal?
Yeah, I mean, like this last guy I met with, I don't want to go too deep into it on the call, but he had been involved in several network marketing companies, and it sounded like he didn't get anywhere. So I just asked him, I said, well, tell me about the support that you had. Tell me a little bit more, and just tried to find out more detail about his experience. So it sounds like I was on the right track, but I think I just need to be bolder and asking just more pointed questions.
And then in that case, I would even say, would you be open to talking to some of my team members? Could we set up a Zoom?
Mm-hmm.
Get us, get Sherry, get Big John, anyone, and they'll just hear a different perspective. And, we have a really awesome team. We have so much brilliance on our team. And seriously, so you want to take advantage of that. You have a team. Some people don't even have a team that they can rely on.
Right.
So,
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Judy asked, how often do you usually wait between follow-up? So, if let's say you had a scheduled call and you call them and they're not there, because some people do that. People are so rude sometimes. It's like, really? I mean, come on. If you're not interested, just tell me, because I have other things to do, but whatever, right? So, and sometimes things happen. God forbid, right? Someone could have had, an accident or some kind of thing going on. So if, if it's that, then I would probably, I'd leave a message, hey, we're scheduled. And then in answer to Judy's question, how often would I wait? I might, like, the next day try again, because I want to at least give someone the benefit of the doubt that they're not blowing me off. Maybe, God forbid, something happens. So I would reach out and say, just want to make sure everything's okay. I'm not trying to bother you. See, these are the things you say to somebody, because that's true. You're not trying to bother somebody. You're not trying to be annoying. So, I really, and I'll say that, I'm really not trying to bother you. I know you were interested. We were scheduled to talk. Can we reschedule? So now let's say I still don't hear from them. So in that case, I might wait, a few days, and maybe send a message, or, keep them. And I definitely will keep them on a list, because I'll check in at that point, maybe in a couple weeks, or if there's a promo, I'll reach out again. So Judy, it really depends. There's on where people are at in the journey and how far did they get, it just depends, but you got to be sensitive that it's, you don't want to be annoying, yet you want to at least be professional and make sure people understand that you care. You're not trying to push them. You're not trying to sell them. You just really care. That if they finally make their decision, they're going to have amazing results, and they're going to love you and their life and everything else. Sherry, did you want to say something?
Yeah, and that goes back to when you're having a conversation with them and they say they'd like some information, I always say, what type of information would you like? There's a lot of it out there that would help you make your decision. So you don't have to dump the kitchen sink on them. But as soon as I say I'm going to send them something, I'll say, when do you think you'll have a chance to look at it? For sure. And that when they tell you, then say, great, then let's, what's a good time on, the next day, Friday or whatever, morning. And always ask them, but your goal, just like I said before, is to set up the next connection. Now, when you call and they're not there, one thing that I always say, because it's like you set an appointment, you took the time to call them. Sometimes I'm on the phone when people call and I can't hang up, or I'm in the garage or in the bathroom or something, and they actually do call back. But I always say, calling you at 2:00 today, as I promised. So it's like saying you're sticking by your word. If you're busy or you can't get to the phone right now, just text me back and we can arrange a new time, a better time for you. or I'll say something. And if they don't text me back, I'll maybe text them back or just call them the next day and say, sorry, we missed each other. And treat it just like, you would a friend. Sometimes friends miss calls and things like that. Don't be a stalker. But if you set an appointment, you're not stalking. They're telling you when to get in touch with them. You're not saying, okay, I'm going to call you tomorrow.
And let me just say this, guys, because this is really super important, and then we'll close it up unless anyone has any other questions. To me, it's really important to be punctual. And yeah, sometimes things happen and you get caught up. And like if I'm on a call with somebody and I know I have a call that I'm going to be late for, like I'm running a few minutes late, I'm texting while I'll just say to the person, hang on 1 second, let me just send a text real quick because I'm I don't want to cut us short, have a call coming up. But I am so usually spot on. Like 1 o'clock call, I'm calling at 1 o'clock. And I just think that's professional. It's integrity. You said you were calling at 1 o'clock. 1:05, 1:10, 1:15. No, 1 o'clock. People are busy. And I really feel strongly about that because I hate when people are just haphazard about their time. Even our older son, I'll call you back in 10 minutes. And then it's your word needs to be your word. Be your word. I really feel strongly about that so much. So I would just add that.
Can I say something, Anna?
Yeah, go ahead, Felicity.
Definitely agree with that. Something I know a lot when I was first starting I definitely made sure I was the one that called them. Now I'm at the point that I felt so many times that I would call people and they weren't there. And yes, leave a message. What's the next time I can talk to you? But now, honestly, I say to them, I really want them to know that it's a professional thing. I'm not just sitting at home waiting to talk to somebody. I'll say, great, are you available at 1 or 2 on Friday? They say 1, and I'll say, great. Can you please call me at this number? I'm on back-to-back clients coaching. If you need to change your scheduled time, please do that within 30 minutes because there's somebody else that always wants that spot. I have never, if someone wasn't going to call me, it's usually within 30, if they would let me know within 30 minutes. And that's what's worked for me. And I think Anna said, you will figure out what works for you. But I definitely didn't do that when I first started. It's just what I've seen because they're like, oh, okay, I'll call you because she's so busy. I want to make sure I get that time in. That's one thing for me that's helped. The other thing is when you were talking about when somebody asks them, sorry if there's an airplane. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. If somebody asks for me to send them some information, I'll say, for the way I work is it's a free phone consultation. I won't have an idea of what information to send you until I get all the factors I need in order to know what you're looking for. And that's how that's after I've already obviously connected online. But my goal is to get them on the phone so quickly that by me sending them something I have noticed, that it just prolongs them to give me another excuse. So after we've talked, if they're still not ready, which is most of the time, then I know what to send them because I feel like we've already made that connection. And I'm able to say, oh, remember when you talked about how you really, you lack energy? That really helped me when and if you decide to go with me and coach with me, because now I know this article should help you about energy.
Yep. Yeah. And I'm with you regarding that, Felissa. I'll talk to somebody before I just send them something to look at because I like to make that connection. But, you gotta find what works for you. And like I said before, every situation is a little bit different.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, cool. Any other questions before we wrap it up for tonight?
I have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
IsaTools, and you send them a movie through an email or a text, you can tell when they've seen the video. But in Messenger, you can't, right?
No.
No. Okay.
No, if you're using IsaTools, you're going to email them or you're going to text them. If you send it through Messenger, you'll also get notification if you do it through your IsaTools app. Yeah, you'll know. But you're not going to, it's not going to, like, you'll know they checked it out. It doesn't show that they watched it completely. I think they're working on that. Sherry,
I know.
Yeah,
I know the-
actually, you can copy the link from IsoTools. Like if I can tell, like I have one of my consultants, I'd send him a video or certain videos, and then he sends them out to all these people. So I get the thing that he's reading it over and over again, and I know he's not, it's his people, but he doesn't have ISA sales tools. So once you get that link, it's going to come back to you that somebody's read it. You know, so if it says that your husband's reading it over and over again, you know, you say, who did you give that link to? Because they were watching the video. So yeah, and you can put it in Messenger too.
Well, I have, but I haven't gotten any notification that somebody has viewed it in Messenger, only through text or email.
Okay. Well, if you
I know it's John Sipko, and
Yeah, go ahead, John.
that is correct. It doesn't. You don't get notification in Facebook Messenger.
oh, okay, got it. Even if the link was copied, John?
Yeah, even if the link was copied, it doesn't work. It doesn't work the same way it does when you send a text message, because what you send in a text message is actually, I don't know how to explain this, but it's like a shortcut that it comes back to the IsoTools system and opens it from the IsoTools system. So once it opens from the IsoTools system, it knows, and that for whatever reason, it doesn't translate in Messenger.
Okay, good to know. And Zyla's saying the same thing. Yeah, you know, and we could talk about that another time. You know, some of the team are using IsoTools, and some are just using isomovie.com and copying and pasting, and just, you know, copying and pasting the video or just sending them there. It's all about the follow-up, right? So if you are scheduling the follow-up, whether you know they saw it or not, whether you're using the app or not, the app's wonderful. So I'm not saying don't use the app, but, you know, it's still a matter of following up, scheduling the appointment. You know, that's really going to be the key always.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Okay, let's wrap it up, guys. I have a call with somebody, and then we have I have another Zoom at 9. So so if anyone needs help, as always, you know, please reach out. Anything, especially if you're new and you're just not, you know, feeling comfortable with certain things. But even if you're not new, we're all here for you. So I say that all the time. You're kind of nauseous hearing me say it already, but I really mean it. So, so meanwhile, everybody, have a great evening. Thanks for showing up on the call tonight, and we'll be in touch. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ina.
Bet. Good night, everyone.